BBC News, I'm John Shea. The Israeli military has conducted airstrikes in the Gaza Strip on a day of escalating violence between the Palestinians and Israeli security services. Palestinian officials say 20 people, including 9 children, were killed in the strikes. Tom Bateman is in Jerusalem.
The Israeli strikes come amid repeated rounds of rocket fire into Israel by the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Part of the first barrage was targeted some 50 miles away towards Jerusalem, where a day of tensions was already boiling over. Earlier in the day, at Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, the heart of Jerusalem's most sensitive holy sites, heavily armed Israeli police fired stun grenades and rubber bullets at Palestinians who threw stones and other objects at them. The events could lead to further rounds of fighting.
The Pentagon says a US naval ship has fired multiple warning shots after more than a dozen fast boats from Iran's Revolutionary Guards came close to an American submarine and escort ships. This is the second such incident in the region in 2 weeks. Steve Jackson reports.
A Pentagon spokesman said the Iranian boats came to within 130 metres of the US vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, the narrowest part of the vital route linking the Gulf to the Indian Ocean. The spokesman said a US ship fired at least 30 warning shots before the Iranian boats moved away. The incident comes as a delicate diplomatic process is taking place to see if Washington and Tehran can put aside their differences and revive the international deal to stop Iran getting nuclear weapons. The US pulled out of the agreement under Donald Trump, and Iran has since stepped up its production of nuclear materials.
The US state of Georgia has abolished legislation passed during the Civil War that allowed residents to make citizens' arrests. The move comes just over a year after a black man, Ahmaud Arbery, was shot and killed by a white man who said he suspected him of being a burglar. Paddy Maguire reports.
27-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was out for a run in February last year when he was pursued and then confronted by Gregory McMichael and his son Travis McMichael, who shot him dead. Their neighbour William Bryan had joined the chase and filmed the fatal encounter. A prosecutor initially assigned to the case had used Georgia's 1863 citizens' arrest law to argue that the shooting was justified. Campaigners say the law was used to round up escaped slaves and was later used to justify the lynching of African Americans.
A cyber-criminal gang that took a major US fuel pipeline offline over the weekend has acknowledged the incident. DarkSide wrote on its website that its goal was to make money and not to create problems for society. The pipeline carries nearly half the diesel, petrol and jet fuel supplies of the US East Coast. This is the latest world news from the BBC. The French government has reacted angrily after a right-wing newspaper published a second open letter from military personnel warning that France was heading for a civil war. Both letters highlighted Islamist extremism and unruly housing estates. The Prime Minister Jean Castex called it a political manoeuvre by the extreme right. The Colombian President Ivan Duque and protest leaders have failed to reach an agreement to end 2 weeks of disruption. At a meeting in Bogotá, Mr. Duque had urged protesters to lift roadblocks in the country's main cities, saying they were causing shortages and affecting medical care and the economy. But the main unions, indigenous groups and other civil society organisations said the meeting was inconclusive. Scientists say we now have the most precise information yet on the deepest points in each of the Earth's 5 oceans. Our science correspondent Jonathan Amos explains.
The deepest places are the trenches, the great depressions that form where Earth's tectonic plates meet. Most were already reasonably well known. For example, the deepest of all, the Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific, at almost 11 kilometres or 7 miles down, had been surveyed several times. But the privately financed Five Deeps expedition brought new precision with its measurement techniques and settled, for instance, competing claims in the Indian Ocean. The deepest part is now confirmed to be just off the Indonesian coast. The project mapped an area roughly equivalent to the size of France, but this still leaves 4/5 of Earth's sea floor to be surveyed to the same kind of modern standard.
The US television network NBC says it will not broadcast the Golden Globes ceremony next year, joining a growing wave of criticism of the organisers' behaviour and lack of diversity. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which runs the celebration, has come under pressure after it emerged there were no black members. BBC News.